ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. I hope I am audible and the screen is seen. Okay. So yesterday we were seeing about the asana for the meditation. I will just repeat a paragraph. All this had to be said because meditation should not be done on the damp ground. In those days, all dwellings had mud floors, and the benches or seats were made out of clay. If a person were to sit in meditation on such an asana without these three layers of material, after 3 months, their minds may have bent in the right direction. But their legs would be unable to bend at all, the knees having a tendency to develop arthritis when exposed to dampness. So, to avoid the dampness, the kusha was recommended, on top of which was placed a furred skin like a deer skin to make the asana warm. Finally, to avoid irritation from the skin, a piece of soft cloth was placed on the top of it. This does not mean that you must find a deer in order to arrange your asana for meditation. This was simply what was done at that particular time. The skin of a deer was often chosen because the deer is the one animal that is considered to be very clean, since it will not touch anything that any other tongue has touched. In the Indian religious culture also, this is a very common custom. No one takes a bite of something and then shares it with another person. Only in certain instances will people eat what has already been touched by the tongue of another. Food that has been offered to the Lord can be eaten, which is not a problem anyway, because the Lord has not actually touched it with his tongue. Similarly, food offered to one's forefathers through the Brahmanas who perform the ritual called Shraddha is also eaten. The forefathers are invoked in the Brahmanas, and then the food is eaten by the Brahmanas who represent the forefathers. Again, the forefathers have not actually touched on the food. Finally, a wife will eat from the same plate as her husband. Sorry, my internet had gone. Finally, a wife will eat from the same plate as her husband after he has eaten, and a shishya will do the same after the guru has eaten. These then are the exceptions to eating food that has been touched by others. I actually tested this trait in deer when I was in a deer park one day. I gave the deer some bananas and they ate them. Then I put my tongue on another banana and gave it to one of the deers. It sniffed at the banana and walked away. Whether an American deer would be so careful about what it eats, I do not know. It seems to be the nature of the deer. Besides being clean, the deer has enough fur for the skin to be very soft. There was also a rule about the skin that was to be used for one's asana. It was not to be one that someone gave you or one that had been taken from a deer that had been killed. Some hunters would sometimes kill a deer and try to give the skin to a sadhu. Therefore, the sadhu had to hunt for a dead deer and ensure that it had died naturally. Having arranged one's seat of meditation, what is one to do? The verb here is yunjyat, meaning may one practice. And what is one to practice? Meditation, yoga. Why? For steadiness and purification of the mind alone. Atma Vishuddhe, not for anything else. Yes, okay. Gaining knowledge of Atma is accomplished only by inquiry, vichara, which requires Atma Vishuddhi. The obstructions in the mind that prevent this knowledge from taking place have to be removed. This removal of the obstructions in the mind, antakarana pratibandhaka nivritti, is done through dhyana, meditation. Therefore, Krishna says, may one practice meditation for purification of the mind. Yunjyat yogam atma vishuddhaye.
Bela, can you read the previous sentence one more time?
Yeah. Having arranged one's seat of meditation, what is one to do? The verb here is yunjya, meaning may one practice. And what is one to practice? Meditation, yoga. Why? For steadiness and purification of the mind alone. Atma Vishuddhaye, not for anything else. Gaining knowledge of Atma is accomplished only by inquiry, vichara, which requires Atma Vishuddhi. The obstructions in the mind that prevent this knowledge from taking place have to be removed. This removal of the obstructions in the mind, antahkarana pratibandhaka nivritti, is done through dhyana, meditation. Therefore, Krishna says here, may one practice meditation for purification of the mind. Yunjyat yogam atma vishuddhaye. Sitting on the asana described earlier, may there be absorption, samadhana, into the object of meditation. How is this to be done? By making the mind single-pointed. Ekagram manah kritva. Agra means what is in front and refers here to what is to be meditated on, that being one thing alone, eka. Thus, Krishna is saying to bring the mind to the object of meditation and let it be absorbed there. The person who does meditation is described once again as yata chitta indriya kriya, one who has mastery over the mind, senses, and their various activities. Because we tend to take this qualification lightly, it is repeated over and over again. And since it has been repeated so often, we should take it seriously. This means that the senses, which are usually directed outward, are withdrawn along with all other activities of the mind. And the person who does this is called Yata Chitta Indriya Kriya. Being such a person, may he or she meditate. Yogam Yunjayat. I will just read once again. Sitting on the asana described earlier, may there be absorption, samadhana, into the object of meditation. How is this to be done? By making the mind single-pointed, ekagram manah kritva. Agra means what is in front and refers here to what is to be meditated on, that being one thing alone, eka. Thus, Krishna is saying to bring the mind to the object of meditation and let it be absorbed there. The person who does meditation is described once again as Yata Chitta Indriya Kriya, one who has mastery over the mind, senses, and their various activities. Because we tend to take this qualification lightly, it is repeated over and over again. And since it has been repeated so often, we should take it seriously. This means that the senses, which are usually directed outward, are withdrawn along with all other activities of the mind. And the person who does this is called Yata Chitta Indriya Kriya. Being such a person, may he or she meditate Yogam Yunjyat. This is so beautiful. I think previously Swamiji had mentioned about Jitendriya and Prashanta and Yogi. And here he is giving a noun. So we have to observe on the process. Yata Chitta Indriya Kriya. Anyone would like to share?
I think this is equivalent to Pratyahara that is part of the Ashtanga Yoga, where you withdraw your senses from outside and derive the joy from within.
It was the word Nirodha was there. Chitta Indriya Nirodha no? In Patanjali.
Right.
So ekagrata, that is the important thing. Ekagram manah kritva, single pointedness. Okay, so as sadhak, we have to remember all these words. The purpose of meditation. Why should the person meditate? For the purification of the mind. Atma Vishuddhaye. In this context, the word Atma refers to the Antakarana, the mind, and not Sat Chit Ananda Atma, as Sat Chit Ananda Atma is already Vishuddha and needs no purification. The word Vishuddhi can also be taken in a different sense. To be free from the hold of Raga Dvesha is Shuddhi. Vishuddhi can also be in terms of old memories, kashayas, that come up unexpectedly in contemplation when the mind is quiet. These memories lie under the surface and are like the decaying organic matter that lies under the water, producing certain gases that bubble up to the surface. A pond can be a quiet place and clean one. A pond can be quiet and clean 1 minute, but then if you keep watching, you will suddenly see something coming up. Blub, blub, blub. Why do the bubbles come up? Because there is something underneath. Similarly, the mind is quietened by meditation, which can be either contemplative meditation or purely prayerful meditation. Prayerful meditation is on Brahman with qualities, Saguna Brahma, whereas contemplative meditation is on Brahman without qualities, Nirguna Brahma. Here the words are such that you can take them to mean both Saguna Brahma meditation and Nirguna Brahma meditation, as you will see later when the object of meditation, dhyaya, is discussed. In fact, meditation includes both because you start with a prayerful meditation and end with contemplative meditation. Please let me know if you want me to repeat any paragraph. Your thoughts need not disturb you. When a certain peace, shanti, is gained, the mind is composed, tranquil, and in that tranquil mind, various thoughts may occur. These thoughts are to be understood as kashayas, memories that may pop up in a quiet mind at any time without any seeming connection or relevancy. When you understand meditation properly, your thoughts will not frighten you. You need not think you are disturbed. You just let the thoughts bubble up and remain a witness. Generally, when these thoughts come, we take them as ourselves. But here in the seat of meditation, because you have a certain composure, it is possible for you to discover a distance between yourself and these bubbles of thoughts. So you are neither disturbed by them, nor do you need to try to avoid them. Just be an observer, a sakshi. Understand the thoughts as they are and do not be afraid of them. Let them rise and watch them go away like so many bubbles on the surface of a quiet pond. This is what Krishna means here when he said that for purifying the mind, may one practice meditation. Atma Vishuddhaye Yogam Yunjyat. How prayer purifies the mind. Prayer can bring about Atma Vishuddhi because it brings about a certain change on your part, a glad acceptance of what has gone before or what has happened in your life. Usually, we spend our lives fighting against this. This glad acceptance of the past requires a certain intimate acceptance on your part, a prayerful acceptance of what has already happened. Therefore, prayerful meditation takes care of your raga dveshas in terms of the past, what I would have liked to have happened, what I should have done, what should not have happened to me, etc. All the things that usually bother a person. This too is called Atma Vishuddhi. And again, the release of various kashayas, samskaras, or impressions that are deep within the person, those unassimilated, undigested, hurtful experiences that are stored in the forms of memories is called Atma Vishuddhi. Identifying oneself with one's thoughts or the physical body, thinking that anything that happens to the body happens to me is an obstruction, pratibandhaka, a great impurity, a shuddhi for the one who desires liberation. This identification has to be removed. Anything that has to be removed, anything that is unclean is called ashuddhi. To eliminate ashuddhi, contemplation is helpful.
Can you just repeat
Contemplation.
this previous word? Sorry, from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah, yeah. How prayer purifies the mind. Prayer can bring about Atma Vishuddhi because it brings about a certain change on your part, a glad acceptance of what has gone before or what has happened in your life. Usually, we spend our lives fighting against this. This glad acceptance of the past requires a certain intimate acceptance on your part, a prayerful acceptance of what has already happened. Therefore, prayerful meditation takes care of your raga dveshas in terms of the past, what I would have liked to have happened, what I should have done, what should not have happened to me, etc. All the things that usually bother a person. This too is called Atma Vishuddhi. And again, the release of various kashayas, samskaras, or impressions that are deep within the person, those unassimilated, undigested, hurtful experiences that are stored in the form of memories is called Atma Vishuddhi. Identifying oneself with one's thoughts or the physical mind, identifying oneself with one's thoughts or the physical body, thinking that anything that happens to the body happens to me is an obstruction, pratibandhaka, a great impurity, a shuddhi for the one who desires liberation. This identification has to be removed. Anything that has to be removed, anything that is unclean is called ashuddhi. To eliminate ashuddhi, contemplation is helpful. Contemplation is not for Atma Gnana. It is for Atma Vishuddhi alone. So beautiful. It is like detoxifying your mind, isn't it?
It's like your de-identification from your... See, anything that happens to me, or anything that happens to the body or the mind, if we are under the false notion that it's happening to me, that is a pratibandhaka. That's the ultimate pratibandhaka that we have to take care of. Initially, it is Vijitendriya and all that you handle your senses, handle the external. But then here you're talking of the internal pratibandhakas, where that identification of the body, mind, that disidentification, that is removing that pratibandhakas. That is what we have from lifetimes. So that is such a deep pratibandhaka. And for that to remove that, to disconnect ourselves from the body, that is why Gurudev says, dying while living is meditation, where you disconnect your body from, disconnect your identification from the body. That is, you leave the body while you're still alive.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'll carry all this forward again to the next janma. So
Kashayas.
All the kashayas,
samskaras, impressions.
For instance, if we're having pain, supposing we have some pain somewhere in the body, are we able to look at the pain objectively and not suffer the pain subjectively? That will become a tool for us. Anything that's happening, if we can withdraw ourselves and be in that witness consciousness rather than be in the experience of that pain. Yeah. And that is outside of meditation, but while you're meditating, disconnecting from this.
Yeah, so that is through prayerful meditation, and then the contemplation takes place.
Correct. So initially it is saguna and then it becomes nirguna.
Nirguna.
That is what I think Nididhyasana is, no? Nirguna Brahma Vishaye. There is one Sanskrit definition for Nididhyasana. I forget. Where you are, where you remove all the pratibandhakas and just think about the Nirguna Brahma.
Meditation facilitates inquiry. Since Atmagnana is Vritti Gnana, it can only take place by the operation of a Pramana. Pramana Vichara alone produces Vritti Gnana and destroys self-ignorance. This is an important sentence. I will read once again. Meditation facilitates inquiry. Since Atmagnana is Vritti Gnana, it can only take place by the operation of a Pramana. Pramana Vichara alone produces Vritti Gnana and destroys self-ignorance. And for this Vritti Gnana to take place, the various pratibandhakas that are there due to raga, dveshas, kashayas, or viparita bhavanas have to be removed. And this removal is taken care of by dhyana, meditation. Saying that pramana vichara alone produces knowledge does not mean that you give meditation or prayer a less place. There is no lesser place, in fact, because meditation is for Atma Vishuddhi. It occupies an important position in the life of a seeker. Thus, Krishna says, may one do meditation, yogam yunjyat. This is an important point to note because it is commonly thought that Vedanta is only a theory and it is dhyana, the practice of meditation that produces the knowledge. This is not true. Dhyana is for Atma Vishuddhi, not for Atma Jnana, even though ultimately it enables Atma Jnana to take place. The knowledge itself depends entirely upon Antahkarana Vishuddhi because it depends on a mind that is fit for the knowledge. In making the mind fit for knowledge, dhyana is important. Although there is a certain order involved here in terms of dhyana being necessary for the first step of preparing the mind, dhyana itself does not produce knowledge. The vritti jnana produced by pramana vichara alone produces knowledge. I will just repeat this paragraph. This is an important point to note because it is commonly thought that Vedanta is only a theory and it is dhyana, the practice of meditation, that produces the knowledge. This is not true. Dhyana is for Atma Vishuddhi, not for Atma Jnana, even though ultimately it enables Atma Jnana to take place. The knowledge itself depends entirely upon Antahkarana Vishuddhi because it depends on a mind that is fit for the knowledge. In making the mind fit for the knowledge, dhyana is important. Although there is a certain order involved here in terms of dhyana being necessary for the first step of preparing the mind, dhyana itself does not produce knowledge. The vritti jnana produced by pramana vichara alone produces knowledge. Having described, anyone would like to share? It was a beautiful, it reminds me of that Ekashloki by Shankaracharya. Having described the asana and what is to take place while in the seat of meditation, Krishna then talks about how one is to sit. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayannachalam sthirah samprekshya nasikagram swam dishascha प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसित मत्परः काय shirogrivam, body, head and neck, samam, in one straight line, achalam, without moving, dharayan, holding, sthiraha, being firm, swam nasikagram, the tip of one's nose, samprekshya, as though looking at, dishaha cha, and directions, anavalokayan, not looking, prashant atma, one whose mind is tranquil, vigata bihi, the one who is free from fear, brahmachari vrate sthitah, being established in one's commitment to the life of a brahmachari, manah, mind, sanyamya, controlling, mata chittaha, thinking of me, mata paraha, having me as the ultimate goal, yuktaha, yogi, meditator, asit, may he or she sit. Kaya shiro grivam samam achalam dharayan sthiraha san swam nasikagram samprekshya dishaha cha anavalokayan prashant atma vigatabhihi brahmachari vrate sthitah san manah संयम्य मतचित्तः मत्परः युक्तः आसीत्. Holding oneself firm without moving, holding the body, head and neck in one straight line as though looking at the tip of one's nose and not looking in all directions, being the one whose mind is tranquil, who is free from fear, established in one's commitment to the life of a brahmachari. May that yogi, meditator, sit thinking of me, having me as the ultimate goal. To hold the body, head and neck, to hold the body, head and neck in one straight line means not to bend them in any way. In other words, one should sit erect for meditation. But even though the body, head and neck are vertical, you may sway or rock a little. Therefore, Krishna adds the word achalam, meaning that the body is to be kept still, and also sthira, meaning that one should be very firm in one's seat. This means that prior to meditation, the legs and feet are placed in such a way that they do not require any kind of change. Thus, there is both stillness and firmness in one's seat of meditation. So, achalam and sthira. Does one really meditate on the tip of one's nose? The posture described in this verse brings out a certain attitude or disposition in the person that is conducive to meditation. This posture includes one's gaze also. The expression looking at the tip of one's nose, sampreksha nasikagram, is sometimes misunderstood to mean that one should meditate on the tip of the nose. There are even two schools of thought on this. One saying that you should meditate on the spot between the eyebrows, and the other saying that you should meditate on the tip of the nose itself. Because it could be literally taken and therefore misunderstood, Shankara explains what Krishna means by this expression in his commentary of this verse. In explaining the gaze, Krishna says, one samprekshya nasikagram, looking at the tip of one's nose. This does not mean that one must sit cross-eyed. Rather, given the position of the eyes as they look out, they naturally fall or converge upon a particular point, and that is where they are to remain. This means you neither look up nor down. You look as though at the tip of your nose. Therefore, looking at one's nose is not what is being enjoined here by the expression sampreksha nasikagram. It simply addresses where the gaze should fall. This is explained by Shankara as follows. Shankara says that there is the word eva understood here. The word sampreksha, looking, should be understood as though looking. Darshanam kritva eva. The eyes are not even closed, in fact. They just look out in such a way that they do not look directly at any particular object, which is another way of avoiding distractions. So beautiful. Gurudev takes such meditation also, no? With the open eye, we just have to look at thing in, just a few meters away. We just have to look at certain angle with opened eyes and then slowly closing the eyes. Shankara questions what would happen if the person were asked to look at the tip of the nose. Looking at the tip of the nose, where would the person's absorption be? At the tip of the nose, of course, which is not what is desired here at all. In contemplation, the mind is to be absorbed in Atma alone, and for this, your mind must be available. If you are busy looking at the tip of the nose, how are you going to make use of the mind to contemplate upon Atma? Therefore, the object of meditation, dhyaya, is not the tip of the nose, but something entirely different, as we shall see. Shankara also clarifies Krishna's words, Dishah anavalokya, anavalokayan. Opposite of avalokayan, anavalokayan, as meaning not looking in any particular direction. When you are sitting in meditation, it is possible to look to the left, to the right, to the front, and to the back, as well as up or down. Krishna already covered the possibility of looking up and down here by saying, Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam Dharayan. Keeping the body, head, and neck in one straight line. Since one can also look to the left and right, why not meditate that way? because you will develop a pain in the neck. Thus, to avoid such discomforts, the position for meditation was established. Sitting outwardly in meditation is one thing, but there is also another sitting involved, an inside sitting. This inner sitting is what is meant by the word meditation and is what is referred to by the words mata chittaha and mata paraha, in me alone. I will repeat this small line again. Sitting outwardly in meditation is one thing, but there is also another sitting involved, an inside sitting. This inner sitting is what is meant by the word meditation and what is referred to by the words mata chittaha and mata paraha, me and me alone. Having already talked about the place of meditation, the seat itself, and the sitting posture, Krishna points out the object of meditation and also the nature of the meditator here. In fact, there are not many verses in the Gita that talk about meditation as such, whereas the meditator is talked about a lot. If you look at the entire Gita, you will find only one or two other sentences on meditation itself. There is a footnote. It is chapter 6, verse 25. I will repeat the paragraph. Having already talked about the place of meditation, the seat itself, and the sitting posture, Krishna points out the object of meditation and also the nature of the meditator here. In fact, there are not many verses in the Gita that talk about meditation as such, whereas the meditator is talked about a lot. If you look at the entire Gita, you will find only one or two other sentences on meditation itself. The emphasis throughout the Gita is on the meditator. Who it is that meditates is what makes the difference between a successful meditation and an unsuccessful one, a mere act of meditation. The present verse also talks a lot about the meditator, referring to the person as Prashant Atma, one for whom the Atma, the mind, the Antakarana has gained certain degree of tranquility. Krishna talks about the real Shanti later, the Shanti that is gained as a result of meditation and knowledge. In this verse, however, because the person being discussed is a mumukshu, a seeker, the Shanti talked about is relative and refers to the degree of tranquility one has gained by living a life of karma yoga. We know this by the context since in the previous verses, Krishna had been talking about the meditator and what he or she had accomplished thus far, all of which is conveyed here by describing the person as Prashant Atma. The Prashanta Atma is one who has lived a life of Karma Yoga, who has taken care of his or her Raga Dveshas and is therefore no longer pressurized by them. Such a person is free from fear, Vigata Vihi. There are many varieties of fear. The fear of death, for example, is said to be a very common fear for some people in the seat of meditation. When the body is as relaxed as it is in meditation, we generally go to sleep. And there is no fear because there is nobody to be afraid of. But when the body is relaxed and you do not go to sleep, there may be a feeling of going out of the body. which may give rise to the fear of death if what is happening is not properly understood. The physical relaxation itself is as though you are going out of this body. Then the entire internal defense system sends out an alarm and the person experiences fear. I will repeat this paragraph. Such a person is free from fear, vigata bihi. There are many varieties of fear. The fear of death, for example, is said to be a very common fear for some people in the seat of meditation. When the body is as relaxed as it is in meditation, we generally go to sleep and there is no fear because there is nobody to be afraid of. But when the body is relaxed and you do not go to sleep, there may be a feeling of going out of the body, which may give rise to the fear of death if what is happening is not properly understood. The physical relaxation itself is as though you are going out of the body, out of this body. Then the entire internal defense system sends out an alarm and the person experiences fear. Anyone would like to share? Dissolution of the doer is really resolution. No matter how old you are, there is a fear in giving up the body, even though you know you have to give it up one day. However, what is involved here is the dissolution of the doer, the karta. This means the very subject, the meditator, is resolved, which is a kind of suicide. And because the person does not want to dissolve himself or herself, there is fear. In fact, there is no dissolution, there is only resolution. The resolving of the ahankara is also false because the ahankara is atma, but atma is not ahankara. In contemplation, the ahankara, the meditator, naturally resolves into atma. So Brahmaraji already told that it is like dying before the death, the real meditation. The source of fear. The meditator is Atma, the meditated is Atma, and the attempt is called meditation. If the attempt is successful, the meditator is gone, having resolved into Atma. Therefore, the means and the end become one and the same. The meditator resolves into the very object of meditation as he or she attempts meditation. This is the situation that some people are afraid of because they feel as though they are being decimated or destroyed. Thus, some people see fear where there is no fear at all. They feel as though something is going to disappear and they retain it. In fact, the retention of the ahankara is the only source of fear there is, the ahankara itself being the source of fear. If the ahankara does not want to quit, naturally there will be some fear. This fear then is due to avichara, a lack of inquiry alone. A person who requires is free from fear and is called vigata bihi here. Very beautiful. I will read once again the paragraph, the source of fear. The meditator is Atma, the meditated is Atma, and the attempt is called meditation. If the attempt is successful, the meditator is gone, having resolved into Atma. Therefore, the means and the end become one and the same. The meditator resolves into the very object of meditation as he or she attempts meditation. This is the situation that some people are afraid of because they feel as though they are being decimated or destroyed. Thus, some people see fear where there is no fear at all. They feel as though something is going to disappear and they retain it. In fact, the retention of the ahankara is the only source of fear there is, the ahankara itself being the source of fear. If the ahankara does not want to quit, naturally there will be some fear. This fear then is due to avichara, a lack of inquiry alone. A person who inquires is free from fear and is called Vigata Bihi here. Means his physical body is not felt and he is beyond the Vigata Bihi. His chitta is in Paramatma alone. Vigata Bihi.
See,
Fear of
this body has gained this akara because of ahankara. So once you are in meditation, you are not feeling the body. So ahankara is not at all there.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. You are having the body because you have ahankara, you have akara. I hope you can see the screen. I don't know, suddenly it is shutting off. The screen is projected, right?
We are seeing it.
Yeah, thank you. The source of fear. The meditator is Atma, the meditated is Atma, and the attempt is called meditation. If the attempt is successful, the meditator is gone, having resolved into Atma. Therefore, the means and the end become one and the same. The meditator resolves into the very object of meditation as he or she attempts meditation. This is the situation that some people are afraid of because they feel as though they are being decimated or destroyed. Thus, some people see fear where there is no fear at all. They feel as though something is going to disappear and they retain it. In fact, the retention of the ahankara is the only source of fear there is, the ahankara itself being the source of fear. If the ahankara does not want to quit, naturally there will be some fear. This fear then is due to avichara, a lack of inquiry alone. A person who a person who inquires is free from fear and is called Vigata Bihi here. Fear of tomorrow. Vigata Bihi can also be taken as a person who is not afraid of tomorrow, a very common fear. People often ask, if I keep on meditating, what will happen to me? Suppose I go into samadhi and I don't come out, what will happen then? Or suppose I get enlightened, then what will happen to me? How will I behave? How will I hold a job? Because the person being described in this verse is a sannyasi, This fear of tomorrow is not possible. But a meditator need not always be a sannyasi. Therefore, he or she may have all these fears. I read once that a woman approached Swami Vivekananda after a talk he had given and asked, "Did you say that the ego is to be destroyed?" "Yes," he replied. "But if my ego is destroyed, who will run the house?" she asked. "Who will do the dishes?" This kind of problem arises because of the use of the word destruction. Destruction of the ego has to be properly understood. The ego is not really destroyed. It remains even for the person who is qualified to talk about it. But it is an enlightened ego. The I is independent of the I thought, whereas the I thought is not independent of I. Thus, the I thought is already nullified. It is only a shadow I. It is not the I itself. Wow, so beautiful. I'll read once again. I read once that a woman approached Swami Vivekananda after a talk he had given and asked, "Did you say that the ego is to be destroyed?" "Yes," he replied. "But if my ego is destroyed, who will run the house?" she asked. "Who will do the dishes?" This kind of problem arises because of the use of the word destruction. Destruction of the ego has to be properly understood. The ego is not really destroyed. It remains even for the person who is qualified to talk about it. But it is an enlightened ego. The I is independent of the I thought, whereas the I thought is not independent of I. Thus, the I thought is already nullified. It is only a shadow I. It is not the I itself.
Can you just read this last two sentences once again?
Yeah. The I is independent of the I thought, whereas the I thought is not independent of I. Thus, the I thought is already nullified. It is only a shadow I. It is not the I itself. The problem is only in the I. If the I thought is taken at one time as I and at other times as I thought, then I become a yo-yo. Now up, now down, now sukhi, now dukhi. Because the person identifies with the conditions of one's mind, the person is subject to samsara. To be free of this identification is often described as the destruction of the ego. But if it is not explained in this way, all kinds of problems and fears are possible. However, for the person discussed here, Vigata Bihi, there is no fear of tomorrow or of anything else. It is so beautiful. I will read once again the, the two lines of the previous paragraph. The I is independent of the I thought, whereas the I thought is not independent of I. Thus, the I thought is already nullified. It is only a shadow I. It is not the I itself. The problem is only in the I. If the I thought is taken at one time as I and at other times as I thought, then I become a yo-yo, now up, now down, now sukhi, now dukhi. Because the person identifies with the conditions of one's mind, the person is subject to samsara. To be free of this identification is often described as the destruction of the ego. But if it is not explained in this way, all kinds of problems and fears are possible. However, for the person discussed here, Vigata Bihi, there is no fear of tomorrow or of anything else. It is so beautiful. It is already 6 o'clock as per Bahrain time. You want me to continue or?
How much more of this verse is there, or is it done?
It is still 2, 3. No, it is still too much. I think I should complete only that I thought, since it is connected to the.
Yeah, do that. Do that.
Vigata Bihi word only. So I will continue this paragraph. The life of a brahmachari. The Vigata Bihi can also be called brahmachari vrate sthitaha, one who remains with the vows or the commitment of a brahmachari. And what is that commitment? That implies living the life of a brahmachari. Shankara defines it in terms of service to the teacher, Guru Shushrusa, eating happily whatever food comes one's way as alms, etc., as alms, etc. Bhiksha, Anna, Bhuktyadi. A person with this kind of commitment does not bother about tomorrow and is called a brahmachari. Since Krishna is talking about meditation, the context in which the word brahmachari is used here also implies an emphasis on the study of the Shastra. Therefore, it is assumed that the meditator has done a lot of Shravana and Manana. How to live a life of a brahmachari is also mentioned in this verse. One must withdraw from the various forms of thinking that takes place in the mind. Manaha, samyama, sanyamya, samyamya, manaha, samyamya. And because you cannot withdraw from them unless you apply the mind to the dhyaya, the object of meditation, Krishna says here, thinking of me, may the meditator sit. Mata chitto yukta asit. Me alone. I will read this paragraph once again. The life of a brahmachari. The Vigata Bihi can also be called brahmachari vrate sthitaha, one who remains with the vows or the commitment of a brahmachari. And what is that commitment that implies living the life of a brahmachari? Shankara defines it in terms of service to the teacher, Guru Shushrusa, eating happily whatever food comes one's way as alms, etc.
Your voice is
Bhiksha,
breaking it.
is it? Should I read once again the whole paragraph? The life of a brahmachari.
It was quite clear. Maybe it was your internet, Sureshji.
I'll just read that once again and then we can stop for Manana, because it is very important, the Manana and Shravana and Manana. The life of a brahmachari, the Vigata Bihi can also be called brahmachari. Can also be called brahmachari vrate sthitah, one who remains with the vows or the commitment of a brahmachari. And what is that commitment that implies living the life of a brahmachari? Shankara defines it in terms of service to the teacher, Guru Shushrusa, eating happily whatever food comes one's way as alms, etc. Bhiksha Anna Bhuktyadi. A person with this kind of commitment does not bother about tomorrow and is called a brahmachari. Since Krishna is talking about meditation, the context in which the word brahmachari is used here also implies an emphasis on the study of the Shastra. Therefore, it is assumed that the meditator has done a lot of Shravana and Manana. How to live a life of a brahmachari is also mentioned in this verse. One must withdraw from the various forms of thinking that takes place in the mind. Manaha samyamya. And because you cannot withdraw from them unless you apply the mind to the dhyaya, the object of meditation. Krishna says here, thinking of me, may the meditator sit. Mata chitto yukta asid. I think it is a very, very beautiful paragraph. I'll just read this. I think, Brahmaraji, should I stop here or we can?
Yeah, maybe we can do Manana here.
Yeah, since it is very important. And I will repeat tomorrow this from here, the life of a brahmachari, or maybe the next paragraph. Yeah. So we will just close our eyes for a few seconds and then we will have our sharing. Hari Om. I will just read the shloka once again. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayannachalam sthirah samprekshya nasikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत मत्परः. Let us contribute our takeaways. All of you, please share. It was so meditative. My takeaway for today is Matta Chittah Matta Paraha. In me and me alone.
Jai Gurudev. I was thinking of the initial days when I started with Art of Living around 15, 16 years back. And we could not follow these small, like the text which was read or the pillars of knowledge when we did our first advanced course. And we used to note it down, and we used to discuss in among the friends, and how we would have to memorize each and everything again. But as you have passed this whole period, how I doing all these practices, the being in knowledge, then seva, satsang, sadhana, everything, how the antakaran shuddhi has happened, and how now when we are reading such a big Veda, like it's a great Veda, and how we all can just understand the sentences which are being read spontaneously, and though there are some difficulties understanding some part, but not what we used to be in that period of time where we could not follow easily. We had to strain our minds. This I was just wanted to share.
Yeah, Renuji has written, dying alive is ultimate. Yeah.
Also, there are some important qualifications and of a meditator that the previous shloka and the shloka has brought about. The Vijitendriyaha, Vigata Bhihi, and Brahmachari Vrate Stitaha. The aspect of Brahmachari is so beautifully described, wherein a person lives the life of a student where he is happy with whatever he gets. He is not worried about tomorrow. So basically, you are not letting your mind go into the future and worry about what will happen. You're not worried about the past, because all the past kalmashas you're letting them come up. You just observe them. You are here and now in that prayerful mode of acceptance. You start your meditation in that prayerful acceptance of the present. And then vigata bhihi. Sometimes you might, fear of death is one of the greatest fears. So that might happen when you suddenly there is that dissolving. But even that fear is not, because you come out of understanding. That is why Shastra is important. That is why Pramana is important. So you understand that your I, it is not actually destruction of the ahankara. Rather, it is the dissolving of the small I in the big I. Without the Atma, there is no I. But ahankara does not have an independent existence. So that with that understanding, when you transform the small I, the small ego to the big ego, that is what is called destruction of the ego. The me, my, mine, all the time, that is gone, and you feel very connected to everything, with the whole universe. And I think it is only in this chapter, like Swamiji mentions, that Bhagavan has described a meditator and the qualifications so in such great depth. In all the other chapters, it is only talking about the meditator. But here, the process of meditation, samam kaya shiro grivam, where you sit with your spine erect and your head, neck, and the body are in one straight line. Such beautiful indicators of how we should begin our meditation and sit at the seat of meditation. And dishashchan navalokayan, without taking your mind, you keep your eyes closed with your the attention, Nasikagram swam is mentioned, and even that is very beautifully described by Swamiji, explained. It is not like you go on looking at the tip of your nose. It is just that um, um, it helps you not get diverted to other. I think that tip of the nose, maybe we will have to read one more time, maybe. It is not concentrating on the tip of the nose. It is just bringing your mind to we can't call it a focus, but you are bringing your mind to one pointedness. That ekagram. Agram is before. So the one that is before is you're thinking of matpara, matchitta. You're thinking of just the atma. So you keep the divine and you're only thinking of that aspect of Satchidananda. Yeah, the dying while alive. That's what Gurudev keeps saying several times. He says, you leave the body before the body leaves you. So leaving the body again and again is meditation. Otherwise, the body will leave us and then we'll be left where we are. Square one.
Body dropping you is death.
Mm.
You dropping the body is meditation.
Meditation, right.
What I found was that in this 3-4 paragraphs, very importantly, like the place where you sit and meditate is also important. Like we had the old campus initially in Bangalore Ashram where we used to sit on sand. There were no cushions, nothing, but it was such a comfortable place to sit in. Afterwards, even the acrylic sheet was put as the roof on top and then fans were added. So in those days, maybe just an ant would bite us or something like that in the sand. But then they got that ant removing machine also. So meditation was so comfortable sitting in the sand and doing it. Then when VM was built, I remember Guruji said, Seva Karo, like you'll be a part of making the VM, like sort of. VM was built, it is at a height. And then cold winds blow into it. And it's like marble below, which is also very cold. So we required cushions. And then the cold breeze would come in if the windows were left open in the VM. And that was a little bit troublesome initially, by the time we were meditating in the VM. So the place has its effect on us. Definitely it has an effect on us. How comfortable are we? We were comfortable in the sand more than what we were comfortable on the cushion in the marble, on the marble ground. So the place, the seat, that is important. And then dropping the body, the fear of dropping the body, death occurring, leaving the body, that I found was very common. And Gurudev used to tell us, like when we take jail courses, don't worry, suddenly people who suffer from depression and jailbirds who have a lot of fear in them, they will open their eyes during meditation or during Kriya also. It's okay. So I've seen it so many times. They have fear of that because the spoon is converted, they sharpened and converted into a knife like. There is gang warfare over there also amongst themselves. So they have this fear of death very predominantly present in their minds. So suddenly they'll open their eyes wide, they look at me and then tightly shut their eyes and go back to meditation. And that's okay. I just go and rub my hand on their shoulders or put my hand on their head and I can see them getting relaxed completely. So terrorists, jail inmates have this fear of death. So they open their eyes. And that's okay initially. Every stage you keep on progressing. And then fear of tomorrow, like what will happen tomorrow, that also is a fear that we have. That also we need to drop. When the divine is with you, why bother about all these things? That was my takeaway today. I just seen how we have grown on this path from a raw volunteer, a sadhak, to now probably a disciple or a devotee. And yes, knowledge is also essential. As meditators, we didn't know how much it was important, but now we realize knowledge has definitely helped our progress on the path.
Consider, can you elaborate on dying alive, just few lines?
Dying of death, the fear of death, the fear phobia which is there for death happening. So when they're sinking deep, that means they're losing consciousness and they don't want to lose their consciousness. They want to be alert. Somebody would kill them inside a jail or where terrorists are concerned, that they would be attacked by soldiers and they would be killed. So they need to be alert. And here it is, the mind is going deep into consciousness. So that alertness is being dropped, the awareness is being dropped. It is there, but you're going into a deep state of meditation. So suddenly they come out of it, they open their eyes. Seeing me in front of them, they again tightly shut their eyes and go back into meditation and feel relaxed. So Swamiji was just citing today fear of death, fear of tomorrow. All these things are there in our minds. These vrittis disturb our meditation. It does not make it wholesome and holistic. So when we drop all this one by one, our ragas, dveshas, desires, meditation becomes like you are in a deep state. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you.
The Sampreksha Nasika Gramswam is as though looking at the tip of your nose. So here, Krishna, if you remember, he does not say closing your eyes. There is no phrase saying with your eyes closed. It is as though looking at the tip of your nose. So your eyes are really not completely closed. As what Gurudev says, when you open your eyes, you're lost in the world outside. And when you close your eyes, sometimes you can get lost in the world inside, the world of fantasy, the world of worry, fear, anxiety, and a lot of planning to do so much, you can get lost in that inner world. So ideally, when you are in between, either eyes completely open, completely closed, in between is that sampreksha nasikagram, so where you are as though looking at the tip of your nose, but you're actually focused. You're just looking down as if, and this will help in not getting distracted, not getting the mind either lost in the outside world, neither in the inside world. So you're somewhere in between. And when we begin meditation like that, ultimately, of course, your eyes might close. But this is, I think, what is that tip? Looking at the tip of your nose. Sampreksha nasikagram iva. That is what Shankaracharya puts in that the word iva, as though looking at the tip of your nose. And there is one sentence that if I remember, if we truly want to meditate and derive the benefits of meditation, which is Atma Vishuddhi, we have to be enough qualified for that. Otherwise, it is just like we are closing our eyes and that's it. For an outsider, it is like you're meditating, but inside you are taking your own trip. You're making your own trip. You're not progressing in this path of Atma Vishuddhi. So that inner revolution, that inner growth, only one can. We'll have to hold our mind. Again, that comes back to that Uddhared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayat. So hold your mind, and then slowly take it one step deeper and deeper.
But here, if you look at it, Dr. Brahmra, when we do the first time Sudarshan Kriya, we drop everything. Like we have that out of body experience. Guruji has been so kind and compassionate that
Correct.
we just drop everything and we are just beginners on the path. But he makes us experience that so that maybe when we start out, we'll have thoughts, we'll have all those things happening to us. But a beginning has to be made. And slowly, slowly, we are able to drop everything. And now
Very true.
probably we are coming to a state where we are dropping our desires, our ragas, our dveshas. Like we are looking at events happening outside of us. Like even though we are playing an integral part of it, it is just like not, when we studied in school, we learned all this world is a mere play and all the people mere actors. I could not understand Shakespeare talking this kind of philosophy. Now I can understand in depth what he meant when he said all the people are mere puppets, like playing their part, the character and going away, departing from this world.
Which is true. No doubt in Sudarshan Kriya, Gurudev has given us a very deep experience. That is, of course, no denying that. What I was trying to mention here, and what Swamiji was also mentioned by that statement, was that mithyachara. You might close your mind, close your eyes, thinking you're meditating, but it is not like you're intentionally doing it. But if you're not enough prepared to meditate, you're not enough qualified, then you might just be sitting and closing your eyes, but nothing actually is happening in terms of that Atma Vishuddhi. That is what I was wanting to mention. Of course, Sudarshan Kriya is excellent. No doubt at all about it. But in order for that Atma Vishuddhi to happen, we will have to take care of all the others also, no? Vijitendriyaha, then Vigata Bhihi. And then again, later, Bhagwan will talk about Yuktahara Viharasya. So all those are also important. We cannot just say, I'm doing Sudarshan Kriya, so I'm getting a good experience. You will, of course, get. But are you satisfied only with that? Is that sufficient? Gurudev himself has said, all your sadhana will not get you enlightenment. Nothing of what you do will bring you enlightenment. He said that in one satsang, and then he says, because all this is only a process of purifying. It is not Atma Jnana.
But even understanding the knowledge, it is so much more deeper now. Like when we started, I think even after I became a teacher, like the 7 levels of existence, what little I knew of it. And then how, as we went deeper and deeper into knowledge, our understanding. And here today it was mentioned about, I think Swami Vivekananda or something, he was talking about destroying the ego. And some lady came up to him and said, how can you destroy the ego? Then how can I cook and all that? So actually it is going beyond the ego to reach the ultimate state of bliss. So going beyond the ego state. But the way it is put by many people, that is why Guruji says, don't do spiritual shopping, because everyone uses different types of words which may create chaos and confusion in a common person's mind who's not reached that level and depth of knowledge. So before going for teacher training, I think I may have heard Ashtavakra Gita at least 4-5 times, though 3 times was necessary or so at that time, and 2 advanced courses. But I must have heard it 4-5 times. And yet my understanding now today is much better than what it was then.
And that is true. That is, I think, the result of Antakarna Shuddhi and all those qualifying steps you've been following, and then therefore whenever you listen to that, then the pramana, when we are enough qualified, enough atma antakarna shuddhi, and that atma vishuddhi happens, then just the word is enough, just that pramana of the Guru's word is enough for us to get that experience.
It's like meditation starting to happen on its own. Like it
Yeah.
just happens, like without, you just drop the body without any effort. It's effortless.
See, initially when we do Sahaj, we tell people, it is needed for people to take the mantra about 5-6 times during the 20-minute period. But after a while of practice, you just need to take it once, and that's it, you sink into meditation. So similarly, as we keep on in this path, continuing our sadhana, not relegating sadhana to anything lower. Of course, sadhana is so important to keep that polished. Otherwise, it is like if it keeps getting covered with dust, you have to keep removing it. So that sadhana continues. Along with that, this understanding together, then there is a deeper experience.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. If nobody has anything to share, maybe we can close today. Vela?
Jai Gurudev, I would like to share something. When Percy ji said he has to go, attend Ashtavakra 3-4 times before going for the becoming a teacher. It is not only the teacher. When I wanted to go for Guru Puja course, phase 1, I had to go. I had to undergo that Ashtavakra Gita. And that time it was not possible for me to give 33 days in a consecutive way. But it happened. Now I just remember that and how I could do it, because it used to take me 3 hours a day, coming and going and attending. So it is just a wonder. Before you get something, you had to go undergoing. That's wonderful. Jai Gurudev.
I just have one more request. Like about 6 to 8 people have registered for the advanced course. So what do we do? Can we put in some efforts or something to get a few more people? I really thought that from this group about 15-20 would join.
I will be joining on 12th.
Okay.
I will be registering on 12th.
Because up till now, the registrations have been very few. So otherwise, if Dr. Brahmra says we can postpone it to April or something, 3rd week or so.
I think we'll hold it for a week or so.
Okay.
Dr. Renu says, yes, please. But I think people had committed. I think at least 10 were here from this group. 10 or 11 were there.
But
like for me, for people outside of India, it's a difficult thing to register using the Indian link. I'm waiting for Madhuri ji, or Suresh ji said he will register first and then help out. So I think those few of us who are outside of India find this difficulty. But otherwise, has this course been announced outside as well? You've kept it open, right?
It is open. It is on the CRF. The link and everything is there.
There on the CRF.
Now, only thing is, if you need help in registering, I have got my Pune volunteer. He will do it for us. Maybe I will ask him for his details, and then you all can send the money to him, and he will register for each and everyone. If here the people in this group have not been able to reach out.
No, that's fine. I think we have enough volunteers here who said they will help out.
Okay.
It's a matter of just getting it done. That's all.
Yeah,
Today is 8th, no? Today is 8th. And we have about 9 days now. 8 days, a week from now. We'll step it up. I think.
I think a little bit of stepping
message,
out is required.
yes,
So
yes. Yeah.
if we are able to draw in about 2-3 people each, even those who are based in India, can easily register. Anybody can.
30 days, April can, at least if you can plan for April, I can join. These 3 days are impossible for
Sorry.
me.
Dr. Renu says these 3 days is impossible because she's now in Canada, and she's requesting if you can postpone to April. Yeah.
Yeah, we may have to do it if we don't get the numbers. Actually, 10 to 12 first date which I had given was the correct date for this course. And then I had opened out a new area, I told you, in Taloja. So those dates I transferred to this advanced course. And now that has gone to the last week of this month. And then it's like really such a hectic schedule for me. Then I have to go to Nasik also. And then coming back here, these people post event of Guruji's course, they have kept from April 6th to 9th or so, advanced course here in New Bombay. So it's like those last 3 weeks and the first week of next month is all cluttered together, very hectic. And here I'm just twiddling my thumbs, like changing the dates and then nothing is happening sort of. So again, postponing this week will go empty.
Yeah, no, we'll
Let's
stay
put
with
in
the
our
dates for
efforts
now.
and see. Yeah.
Yes, that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
have another course later, Dr. Renu. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll close for today.
Yes.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.